Welcome to another episode of the Draft Position Preview. Let's go to Joe Douglas's favorite position today, EA, offensive line. Let's start with a pair of guys believed to be the top at the position. NC State's Icky Iquanu, Alabama's Evan Neal. Let's start with Icky Iquanu. What do you like about him?
Well, here's what I loved, what NC State did. When state offensive linemen had pancake blocks during games, they awarded offensive linemen bottles of maple syrup. Iquanu tallied a team-leading 67 pancake blocks and 18 knockdowns for the Wolfpack in 2021. You know what that means? A lot of maple syrup. He also has such an interesting background. He's got a big personality. He was in musical theater as a kid. He performed in a number of plays. He was Pongo in 101 Dalmatians. Now, could he be a leading man perhaps on Broadway?
Wow.
Because the Jets have 2 top 10 picks, and so do the Giants.
Also, Icky Iquanu, something to keep in mind, both tackle and guard versatility. Same thing with Evan Neal, and Evan Neal might be the slimmest 337-pound man I've ever seen.
He looks great, but you talk about his versatility, you're right there. 40 starts over 3 seasons at Alabama, playing multiple positions along that offensive line. Started 13 games at left guard in 2019, 12 games over at right tackle in 2020, and how about 15 games at left tackle in 2021. Last season, a team-high 34 knockdown blocks over those 15 games. Very good technician, good fundamentals, and if he gets his hands on you, forget about it. You're not getting around him.
All right, so let's say those guys are the top 2 tackles. The next 2 aren't far off either, and Charles Cross out of Mississippi State might be the best pass protector out of the group.
Yeah, Cross is another guy who could fit into that mold of, hey, he could come off the board in the top 10. And he played for Mike Leach at Mississippi State. So that means you're pass blocking a ton. You're not going forward a lot because that's an air raid offense. That means you're throwing the football. Pro Football Focus gave him an 86.7 blocking grade. He only surrendered 2 sacks in nearly 1,000 snaps last season. It's going to be interesting to see him make that transition on the pro level because he's going to be coming forward more.
Feels like the last guy considered a potential first-round pick, or at least maybe a lock to be a first-round pick. That's Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa, and the word for him, it has to be nasty, right?
Yeah, nasty. He's probably going to play left tackle on Sundays. His college teammate actually started for the Buffalo Bills last year. That's Spencer Brown. But Penning, very good athlete, 4.89 in the 40-yard dash, which was the 4th best time amongst all offensive linemen. He had 28 inches in the vertical leap, and he put up 25 on the bench press. But you're right, he plays through the whistle. In fact, he got a number of his teammates mad at him. We saw that on the field during those Senior Bowl practices because he's like a gnat, but a big gnat who's going to get after you in the run game. There's some things that he's going to have to work on in terms of pass protection, but he's got the size, he's got the natural athleticism, and he also has the want to.
Yeah, the attitude is going to be a big thing for the NFL evaluators. You know they love that about offensive linemen. But let's hear from Caroline on actually a teammate of Trevor Penning's at the Senior Bowl. One of the best stories in the entire draft, regardless of position, comes from Central Michigan.
Bernard Raymond was born and raised in Vienna, Austria, and first touched a football when he was 14. He then started playing football for the Vienna Vikings, where he started out as a wide receiver. Raymond was always planning to do a foreign exchange program in high school, and that's where he landed in Delton, Michigan with the Ferris family. The thrill of being involved in a small-town high school football added to his passion for the sport. So Raymond was noticed by Central Michigan, who extended him a scholarship offer, and spent 2 seasons at tight end before then switching to left tackle to help the team's offensive line. Raymond shined there, and by his senior year, scouts could not get enough of him. It's crazy to say that the 6'6", 305-pound tight end turned tackle, who only played 10 games on the offensive line, could be a day 2 draft pick, but that's the reality for Bernard Raymond.
Great story about Bernard Raymond. Wide receiver turned left tackle, just a great story, and especially think about the weight that he had to put on to be that for the Chippewas. But how about this, EA? The offensive line, obviously more than just tackles. Let's talk about another position. The Jets right now, they have a good guard tandem, Laken Tomlinson, Elijah Vera-Tucker, now at right guard. So let's focus on the pivot. And also the Jets have a good center in Connor McGovern. Important to note, But this year's top center prospect, Tyler Linderbaum, very interesting prospect because although he's considered by far and away the best center prospect, one of the cleaner prospects overall, it's hard to get a gauge where he's going to be drafted.
Well, you're right about Connor McGovern. Very good season in 2021. He's going to be flanked by Elijah Vera Tucker moving over to right guard. You bring in a Pro Bowler in Lincoln Tomlinson. You love that interior. But what is going to happen with Linderbaum? He's an excellent mover who played in the perfect scheme in college. He's also considered a good combination blocker who's always searching for bodies at the second level. Extremely durable with 35 consecutive starts. He's not the longest guy, but he's super athletic, a former accomplished wrestler at the high school level. He was 53-10 as a junior. I really like this kid. It's going to be fascinating to see where he goes in the draft because he could be sitting there on all these teams' draft boards at the top of day 2.
Yeah, I think to what you said earlier, that he's very scheme specific supposedly. So interesting to see where he'll go. And just other names to watch, Cole Strange, Dylan Parham at the pivot as well. But you know that Joe Douglas, regardless if he had 5 All-Pros on the line, he'd always want to add some beef up front. But Caroline, do Jets fans want an offensive lineman in the draft?
So Jets fans agree with Joe Douglas. Overall, yes, they do. The top 3 options were all yes, but the majority of votes were at 48% for drafting an O-lineman on day 2. And a lot of people in the comments were actually putting out Tyler Linderbaum's name as the pick.
All right, well, I think a lot of Jets fans are hoping big things for George Fant, Elijah Vera Tucker, Laken Tomlinson, Connor McGovern, and Mekhi Becton. As you should. It's an exciting prospect, but you know that potentially there's going to be some more guys added.
Yeah, listen, the Jets just are in a very enviable position with not just the 35th overall selection, the 38th overall selection. So after that first night, Joe Douglas and his staff can restack that board and see where they're at. Remember, this draft is loaded with very good depth. I like where the Jets are at the top of the second round.
It's a great point. Think about what they did last year. Elijah Moore, pick number 34. The Jets have picks 35 and 38. We'll see what happens in a couple weeks. If you want more draft coverage, stay right here on NewYorkJets.com.